Okay, it is the appointed hour, and I will call the January 29th meeting of the Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority to order. Under items from the chairman, I got a couple of comments. I was wondering if, my thought was that the River Trust itself might ought to put together a letter to Mayor Holt regarding Maps 4. Do we have any ideas for the river for Maps 4? And if so, would we like to make that an official statement from the River Trust as he's putting the list together? I mean, we could all informally talk to the mayor, but would it be relevant for the River Trust to actually do that?
Certainly can't hurt. I think it would be beneficial.
We'd like some money.
Do what? I'm sorry.
I said we'd like some money.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on specific projects that we would recommend?
Well, I just thought that we would put together a list. If everybody had some ideas, get that to, let's say, Kathy, chairman of the Youth Committee. We could look at that, and if there's just one or two, then we would put together an actual letter from the River Trust based on those and say that we would like to have these inserted into the list of items to be considered for Maps 4. And one of the first things that pops up, and one that I've talked to him about, is a landing for the cruisers at the Native American Center. We kind of had two that we were wanting, and one of them came with a grant on the Equestrian Center, but the other one is a landing at the Native American Center. And is that something we want to say that formally the River Trust would like to see that? And there may be other things that I haven't even thought of. So.
What about the equestrian park in and of itself?
Well, that's true. The different phases of it could be.
We haven't identified, I don't think, any funding source for the equestrian parks.
Right.
That would be a
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So if you have ideas just like that, if you could either get them to Kathy or me. We're going to have a River Use Committee meeting next month on an item that we're going to talk about here in a minute anyway, and so we could put together a wish list, so to speak, and this group could look at it and endorse it and say that's what we'd like to send forward.
So we're going to submit our wish list, and it will be on the next agenda.
Right. Yeah. Okay? Okay. The other item is this is going to be somebody's last meeting, and I don't know whether they're celebrating or not.
Probably her.
But Dennis's retirement will come up before the next one, and I just want to pass along from me and certainly probably the trust itself our appreciation for the work that you've done here and the way that you've handled the business, and we appreciate all that you've done, and happy retirement.
Well, thank you. As I've said several times the last week or so, it has been an absolutely rewarding experience to be able to work with such not only terrific elected officials, but terrific volunteers and probably the best city staff anyone could ever imagine. So I can't believe I've been here 13 years. I was going to stay 8, and somehow it turned into 13, but that's okay. As long as the city manager wanted me here, and he still wants me here, but I'm leaving. But anyway, thank you very much. I've enjoyed this.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item 3, the minutes from the December 18th meeting. Do we have any changes or corrections?
Move approval.
Cast your vote. It passes unanimously. Item 4 is the consent docket. We have an oil and gas revenue report and an Oklahoma River corridor events update. Any questions on either one of those?
Move both items.
It passes unanimously. Item 5 is the primary agenda items. Item A is to receive the Oklahoma River maintenance projects update.
Afternoon, Chairman and Trustees. Jim Llewellyn, Public Works Department. On our dredging of the sedimentation basin, the contractor's getting mobilized. Between the cold weather and all the moisture we've had, it's kind of delayed him. But we expect him to get moved in and set up, start working towards the end of February. River maintenance crews removed a total of 8.5 tons of debris over the last month, primarily from the western basin again. For the last calendar years, we removed a total of 277.8 tons of debris from the river. There really haven't been any issues with other than that. Is there any questions?
Any questions? Very good. Motion to receive that report?
Second.
Cast your vote. It passes unanimously. Item B is to receive the quarterly Oklahoma River Cruisers update. Jeannie?
Good afternoon. An update on how our year went in total. Ridership is down, was down for the year, primarily due to the change in our programming. We've reduced the number of ferry trips so that we could add some more revenue-generating specialty cruises. Another contributing factor, of course, was the weather. 300 trips were canceled in 2018 due to weather, as well as several charters due to weather. So the net change in the programming was a dramatic increase in the number of specialty cruise riders. This also gave us about a 5% increase in our revenue over the year because specialty cruises are very popular, and as long as we maintain the appropriate ratio of ferry hours to specialty and charter hours, we can continue on in this direction, which we plan to do in 2019 since it worked out so well.
Jeannie, is there a minimum amount of regular ferry service that we're required to provide to be at transit?
No, ma'am.
Huh?
It just needs to be 51% of our total hours.
Okay.
So as long as we are operating at least 51%, and we stay right around 75%.
So that word ratio is a term of art. That's a real.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do question when we reduce our ferry hours, why did you reduce your ferry hours? Or why are they so much lower than they were last year? And so I just put in there, we're out there offering services to help generate revenue to support the service.
Good. Thank you.
As I said, charters are down, primarily due to cancellations. The last report I received from HMS was that 20 charters were not conducted due to the fact that everyone wants to go Friday and Saturday night. So we're looking at some ways to promote weekday charters to try and persuade people to move their events to times other than Friday and Saturday evening. You know, with 52 weeks in the year, it's 104 charters that you take into account weather. You know, we're pretty lucky to get the 91 that we got this past year, and the 100 seems to be about the max that we're able to provide by only doing Friday and Saturday nights. So hopefully with some marketing and some financial incentives, maybe we can bring some business into the weekdays. The Holiday River Parade was on December 16th. It was very well attended. The weather was good. It was a great event. We only had 2 of our river cruisers in the parade this year. That is because the Devon Explorer is currently in our maintenance building, getting a fresh coat of paint, getting drive shaft bearings replaced, and all sorts of mechanical things refurbished. And that is being paid for by a federal grant as well. So we're very fortunate to have those grant funds to be able to do this, as it's over $100,000 to do a complete overhaul on one of our river cruisers. And for the past month, we've been finalizing our programming schedule. We will once again have the historical reenactors from the Oklahoma History Center. They've been with us every year since we started in 2008, and they're very anxious to start that program again. It's a popular event and helps us draw ferry riders on Saturday mornings. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Jeannie, on the ridership for Fridays and Saturdays, is that the same situation all summer long, or are there certain months that they don't mind going, say, on a Tuesday or a Sunday?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know that nearly every weekend we have 1 or 2 charters every Friday and every Saturday. And it's to try and push people into the weekdays, even during the summer, seems to be difficult. So we're going to try a financial incentive, give a discount for a weekday charter on the Monday through Thursday. and see if we can get some other groups. Also, some effective marketing, I think, would help, rather than just being a party or a celebration. Maybe it could be a corporate get-together or a business meeting, something that's not necessarily, hey, let's go out on the water and have a good time, a celebration, family reunions, those kind of things. Summertime, I think, would be great for family reunions on a weekday, where you can bring the kids out during the day and enjoy the boat. But I think we need to market. We need to drive people towards that idea. So that's what we're going to focus on this year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jeannie? Motion to receive the report.
So moved.
Cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Item C is to receive the Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority schedule of cash receipts and disbursements for the period ended December 31, 2018. Any questions on that?
Mr. Chairman, I had a question. On the receipts and disbursements, there's an item for $1,240,000, which is both a contribution and a disbursement. What is that? That's not the Community Foundation, is it? It also shows up in the projected total for 2019.
I thought we had a representative from the Finance Department here.
Yes. Good afternoon. I'm Kelly Parker from Accounting Services for the city. That $1.2 million is related to payment from the general fund for the river cruises.
Oh.
And then so we received the money from the general fund and then in turn used it to pay for. So,
Okay.
any other questions?
That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Motion to receive.
Second.
It passes unanimously. Item D is a resolution approving a one-time payment of $25,000 in Riverfront funds to the City Parks Department for turf maintenance during the 2019 mowing season at the former Perry Park Sand Plant, located near Northeast 50th Midwest Boulevard. This is, I was asked about this and agreed to put it on here to help get the grass established out there, since that's new park. Delisi put the grass down. We'd like to put a little extra attention to it this year for weed control and mowing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Doug, is this not, this would be just a one-time thing? 1 year thing? It's not going to be 25 ongoing, is it?
But it will need maintenance going forward, but at this time, it's a one-time. We want to make sure we get the appropriate amount of chemicals and things down. Delisi, as part of their post-closure, they developed a couple of sports fields out there, and that's where the real requirement is dealing with that. We want to make sure that those trails that they cut in to the urban forest in that area stay weed-free and things along those lines. It is one of those items that I will remind you that as you think about the equestrian park and the boat landing at the American Indian Center, you have a 409-acre park that needs to be developed into something outrageously great for the citizens of Oklahoma City as well.
I kind of figured there'd be some increase to our annual mowing for this, but this is kind of an increased amount for the fertilizer and all that to get
That's
the grass
correct.
established. Is that
It's
correct?
going to take a few more mowings just to get that Bermuda sports fields established and growing well, so that then the maintenance should be less because the weeds get crowded out.
And I believe this only really covers about half your cost.
That's true.
Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And we did have a conversation earlier today about making sure that Mr. Cupper includes money for this in his FY 2020 budget submittal.
As part of our general fund budget request, we'll maintain it going forward.
Any more questions? Need a motion?
Second.
Cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Item E is proposed installation of the sculpture Glacial Erratics by Clint Shore at Crystal Lake Park under the 1% for Art ordinances.
Mr. Chairman, members of the trust, this, as you said, this does come under the 1% for art ordinance, and this is for the West River Trail. And Randy from Planning is here to kind of tell us about it.
Hi, thanks for inviting me over this afternoon. I'm Randy Marks from the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs. It's my primary job to manage the 1% for Art program for the city. Very soon after I was hired, a little over a year ago, I met with Russell Pace, who's on the MAPS 3 Trails Advisory Committee. We toured West River Trail and talked about the possibility of where art might go, and he conveyed to me that the Trail Committee, subcommittee, was very anxious to see this project move forward as soon as possible. We were able to launch it later in the year, and we put out a call for artists. We had 19 responses to it. The selection committee chose 5 finalists to make proposals, and the winning proposal was presented by Clint Shore, and it's called Glacial Erratics. See, David, do we have a slide? Okay. So Clint did a stellar presentation, and the committee voted very strongly in favor of his proposal. The proposal we asked the artist not only to propose the art piece, but also to suggest a place on the trail where it would best be shown. Clint chose a site close to Crystal Lake, so if you're on the trail going from the north to the south, it would be on your right between the trail and Crystal Lake. A very nice view of the lake. And this is a model that Clint made and presented, showed along with his presentation. So his proposal is that there will be 5 of these structures that will be about 8 feet tall at their tallest, and then they will be arranged in that area. This particular design can be mounted a lot of different ways, virtually on any facet. So even though each piece of the sculpture will be the same, they will be mounted in different ways so that they will look like a variety of different boulders. So this proposal was just approved by council this morning, and we're in the, so the contract has been signed. We'll issue a notice to proceed with Clint very soon. We anticipate, based upon his timeline, we anticipate that the project will be installed right around the first day of summer of 2019. Are there any questions that I can answer for you?
Any questions? There is a rendering and a map position deal with our agenda item today, and we're color renderings of one around also. So. Any other questions? I need a motion. So move.
Second.
Cast your vote. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item F is to recommend the City Council approve a revocable for the Infant Crisis Services 5K and 1 mile fun run on March 30th using Wheeler Park, Oklahoma River Zone 3, and the Oklahoma City Community Foundation River Trail located on the north side of the river. Any questions? Motion? So moved. Cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Item G is proposed ordinance amendments and revisions to the Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority rules, regulations, and guidelines for the Oklahoma River related to event permitting within the river corridor. This is the item I mentioned earlier. We're going to review this today, or I think we've got a short presentation on it, don't we, David? Is Doug going to do that? Anyway, introduce it today. We'll have the River Use Committee meeting next month prior to the trust meeting to go over it, and then we'll adopt it next month. And so you've got today and then the rest of the, up till next month. If you have any suggestions or comments, get them to Kathy for the River Use Committee to study before we go over and make a recommendation next month on it. So. You want to cover it real quick, Doug?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is about 9 or 10 months worth of work. We went back through all of the events that the River Trust has approved over the last few years, looked at inconsistencies and looked at where promoters had problems with the way we were doing business and guiding permits on your lands. We think that this is going to simplify it for promoters. It's going to make it easier for them to understand what they can and cannot use. In some cases, it may actually be cheaper for promoters going forward if you agree with what we have put in here. So again, it's a culmination of past permits, the actions that have been taken. We have, as suggested previously, we are suggesting that there be an annual fireworks permit that the companies in town could acquire from you all, and then it's just a matter of basically a quick fire marshal permitting, because they'd already have the permit from y'all to be able to do a fireworks show on the river. So again, we'll be happy. We'll be participating in the meeting that Ms. Kathy will have next month. Be happy to answer any questions today, but we worked pretty hard at trying to make it easier for our citizens to utilize your properties and still make sure that your controls are foremost in our minds. Thank you.
Any questions today on it? Okay. We need a motion to start this, don't we? Yeah. Motion to introduce it. Cast your vote. Pass unanimously. Item 6 is the claims docket. Any questions on it?
Move approval.
Cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Item 7 is additional items. Comments by staff. Doug, anything other than your written report?
No, sir, thank you. We'd be happy to answer any questions, but we'd recommend that you accept it as written.
Any ideas on maps 4 that we could consider?
As already mentioned, the equestrian park is a big player in what the grant that Jeannie got for the landing there. We need to see if we can't move forward with that. I've had a lot of communications with the Stockyard folks. There's a lot of, couple of them have actually got donors ready in the tune of $10,000 to $50,000 donations towards it. But I think to really make it happen, we need to have it in maps for the landing at the Indian Center. Definitely a big piece of what we need to do. The 409-acre of the old Prairie Lake that Lisi turned back over to us, we'd like to activate that space, make sure it's secure and safe, but have activities that our citizens, and you get the credit for creating the largest regional park in decades by opening up that 409 acres. The others are activating some more of your real estate on the river that is vacant at this point in time. There's all kinds of activities, especially at Western, across the street from our Wheeler Sports Complex. We'd like to put improvements in Wheeler, again, making that space more usable, your space more usable there. Now that Public Works and General Services have moved out of the two buildings at Wheeler Park, there is some real estate there that should be opened up for either more sports fields or activities in Wheeler Park, again, to benefit your lease holdings in there. And of course, out at next to Dell, we've got some property out there that could really use some sprucing up, fancying, something that could be done on that river property on the South Shore as well. So there's a lot of things. Hate to go back to the what was it, the jewels, the string of pearls. There was a lot of great ideas in that string of pearls. Wouldn't want to call it that anymore, but there are some opportunities there that we'd be more than happy to explore with any of you all, and of course we'd be happy to share those with Kathy. Thank you.
Okay.
Doug, I have a question. On the equestrian, the committee that's been working so hard, is there any way that we can get some information on their plan so that we can see how we would like to promote?
We'd be happy to do that. I do know that they have been working with the Chickasaw Nation as well, so that we can program both ends with horseback riding.
Okay.
Where the Chickasaws have their properties. They're really enthusiastic about having equestrian opportunities at that end of the river. So I know the two groups have communicated with each other about how they might be able to partner or collaborate on creating that equestrian opportunity.
Right.
So we'd be out, well, David and I will reach out to them and see if we can't get a report for your meeting.
Thank you.
So on our submissions, some of them may just be supporting the project. Somebody else is working.
I could see that being very possible, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I've also heard some interest in another dam on the river downstream from the eastern dam.
Yeah, there's always been a little interest to keep going further down that way with the stuff that's along the river there. I don't know that that would be a significant another significant cost. I don't know whether that's in this one or possibly a next one, but.
The view coming from I-40 in would be substantial.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I know that's where a lot of it is.
The other added cost for putting a dam that way is we would have to convert the existing dam so it would have lock systems on it so that it actually would be usable space. So.
Yeah.
Or an alternative and a lower cost idea would be, if we're just trying to improve the view, is to put a lower elevation dam that would not necessarily be connected boat-wise to the others.
Just create another lake.
Just create a smaller pool of water.
Right.
Maybe, not as deep as like the eastern basin is.
Okay. All good ideas. My assumption is on that the Boathouse Foundation will certainly speak up on items in the boathouse district down there, so I don't know that we need to include those. Those will be well spoken for, I'm sure. Okay. Any other items for staff? Trustees? Any citizens to be heard? We are adjourned.